Two people start the year in the exact same place. Same salary, same bills, same phone in their hand, promising that this year will be different. 12 months later, one of them has a few $100s saved. Maybe. The other has more money invested than they used to earn in an entire year. They both worked hard. They both tried to be better with money. But one is still crawling, while the other suddenly looks like they hit fast forward. It's not luck. It's not a secret stock. It's a pattern. And the scary part? You're following one of these patterns right now, whether you see it or not. Welcome back to Narrative Finance, where we talk about the psychology behind money, the invisible patterns that shape your financial life, and the quiet decisions that slowly or suddenly redefine your future. Today, we're diving into something most people feel, but rarely notice. A hidden money pattern that decides whether your financial life moves like a slow walk or like a rocket launch. And here's the surprising part. This pattern has almost nothing to do with your income, your job, your intelligence, or even your discipline. Two people can earn the same amount, save the same amount, and still end up in completely different financial realities. The difference is the pattern their mind is following. One built around recovering from every little setback, and the other built around accelerating toward every opportunity. If you've ever wondered why you work hard but still feel stuck, or why some people seem to hit a point where everything begins to compound effortlessly, this video is going to make something click. Most people don't realize how easy it is to confuse movement with progress. On paper, everything looks fine. You're paying your bills, putting a little into savings, maybe investing when you feel confident enough. It feels responsible. It feels like growth. But there's a strange moment, usually quiet, usually private, when you look at your account and realize nothing has really changed. You worked all year, made dozens of smart choices, but your financial reality looks almost identical to last year's. This is the illusion of progress. It tricks you because it feels productive. You're constantly adjusting, fixing, catching up. And the more you fix, the more it feels like you're doing the right thing, except you're not moving forward. You're recovering over and over again. The psychology behind this is simple. When your money is always slightly behind, your brain stays in defensive mode. Every decision becomes about preventing damage, not creating growth. You avoid risks, delay opportunities, and fix problems that wouldn't exist if your foundation were stronger. You're not building momentum, you're repairing drag. It's like trying to run while holding a heavy rope tied to the ground. You feel the effort, you feel the sweat, but you're not covering real distance. And the worst part? You start believing this slow crawl is normal. You assume everyone else is stuck too, but they're not. Some people break out of this cycle entirely, and not because they work harder, but because they stop following the pattern of recovery and start following something very different. There's a moment, subtle, almost invisible, when someone shifts from simply managing money to actually using it. And this is where the hidden pattern begins. Most people think progress comes from tighter control, cutting expenses, tracking every dollar, being responsible. And yes, control matters, but control alone keeps you locked in the same loop. You're constantly adjusting numbers instead of changing direction. But the people who experience explosive growth operate differently. Their mindset moves from control to leverage. They stop asking, how do I stretch what I have? And start asking, how do I turn what I have into more? It's a subtle pivot, but it transforms everything, because when you're focused on control, you're reacting to money. When you're focused on leverage, money starts reacting to you. Here's the clearest way to see the difference. Imagine two people with the same $1,000. One tries to protect it. The other tries to position it. Protection leads to hesitation, waiting, analyzing, freezing whenever uncertainty appears. Positioning leads to movement, taking small, intelligent steps that create momentum instead of fear. The first person keeps asking, what if I lose? The second person asks, what if this builds? And the truth is, the second question opens doors the first one never sees. When your mind shifts from maintaining your financial life to multiplying it, your decisions get bolder, smarter, and more strategic. You start noticing opportunities you were blind to before. You stop optimizing for comfort and start optimizing for future strength. This is the beginning of the pattern that separates slow progress from real acceleration. But the shift isn't just one choice. It's triggered by something deeper happening inside the mind. There's a moment in everyone's financial life that doesn't look dramatic on the outside, but inside, it feels like the air finally changes. It's the exact point where your mind stops thinking about survival and starts thinking about expansion. Psychologists call this the shift out of survival mode, and it's the single biggest psychological trigger behind explosive financial growth. When your money is always on the edge, your brain becomes wired for defense. Every decision is filtered through fear. What if this goes wrong? What if I can't recover? What if this ruins everything? This fear isn't imagined. It's chemical. It shapes every financial choice you make. That's why people stuck in slow progress don't lack intelligence or discipline. Their brain is literally prioritizing safety over opportunity. But when you finally build enough breathing room, enough margin to absorb life without collapsing, something shifts. It's the same transformation people experience around meaningful savings milestones. Tension drops, clarity rises, and the future stops feeling like a threat. Once the brain realizes you're no longer in danger, it stops scanning for losses and starts scanning for possibilities. And that's the moment acceleration becomes possible, because opportunity is invisible to a mind in survival mode. This emotional threshold doesn't require a huge amount of money. It requires enough stability for your brain to stop panicking. Once that happens, your decisions change instantly. You negotiate differently. You evaluate risk differently. You pursue options you once dismissed. This invisible psychological shift is the doorway to the hidden pattern. Before this moment, growth feels slow and mechanical. After it, growth begins to compound in ways that feel almost unfair. Once your mind crosses that emotional threshold, something fascinating happens. The math finally starts working with you instead of against you. Most people assume explosive growth comes from some advanced strategy, a perfect investment, a lucky opportunity, a higher income. But the real engine behind acceleration is far simpler. The same actions suddenly produce bigger results. Think about it like this. If you're pushing a heavy object on the ground, the first few inches feel impossible. You're using every muscle, every ounce of energy, just to make it move at all. But once it starts sliding, every push moves it farther than the last. You're not working harder. Physics is finally helping you. Money behaves the same way. Saving your first few thousand feels brutally slow. Investing feels pointless when the gains barely cover a dinner out. Even good decisions look small on paper. So people assume the process doesn't work. But the truth is, the math simply isn't big enough yet to reveal what's happening underneath. Then something shifts, a number, a milestone, a moment of stability, and suddenly the curve bends. The same $200 you invest each month starts producing more growth than the $2,000 you saved last year. The same discipline that once felt like deprivation now feels like leverage. Your decisions begin multiplying instead of adding. That's the hidden pattern. Progress is linear in the beginning, but acceleration is exponential. The actions don't change, the impact does. Because once you reach a certain level of financial stability, every choice you make compounds on a foundation that is finally strong enough to support it. Tiny advantages start stacking. Returns start building on top of previous returns. A decision you made 6 months ago starts helping a decision you make today. And this is the moment when people look lucky from the outside, but it wasn't luck. It was math, waiting for the right conditions to reveal itself. Most people think compounding is only about money, but the truth is far more powerful and far more dangerous, because what actually compounds first isn't your dollars, it's your decisions. Every financial choice you make sends out a ripple. Some ripples die quickly, others collide, reinforce each other, and return years later as waves big enough to change the direction of your entire financial life. That's why two people with the same income can drift into completely different futures. One person's decisions compound towards stability and opportunity. The other person's decisions compound towards stress and limitation, and neither notices it happening in real time. Think about a simple example. Someone starts saying no to impulse purchases. At first, it saves a few dollars. Nothing impressive. But that habit develops awareness, which leads to intentional spending, which creates leftover money, which becomes an investment, which creates returns, which build confidence, which triggers better career choices, which increase income, which increase the amount invested. And suddenly, what began as a tiny moment of discipline becomes a life-changing financial trajectory. Now flip the pattern. Someone puts a small expense on a credit card just this once. Interest grows, stress grows, emergency savings disappear, opportunities go unnoticed. Every choice becomes reactive instead of strategic. Their decisions begin stacking, but in the wrong direction. That's the hidden truth. Your habits compound long before your money does. Explosive growth isn't created by a single brilliant move. It's created by hundreds of small, quiet decisions that reinforce each other until they form a system, one that accelerates without needing constant force from you. Most people don't fail because they make one big mistake. They fail because their small decisions never had a chance to compound in their favor. But once they do, momentum becomes inevitable. There's a point in every financial journey where the ground underneath you suddenly feels different. You're still taking steps, still making choices, still doing the same things you did months ago. But now, everything moves faster. What once felt heavy starts feeling light. What once required discipline now feels automatic. This is the break point. The moment progress turns into momentum. It doesn't announce itself. There's no alarm, no dramatic paycheck, no magical day where everything becomes easy. Instead, it shows up quietly, almost subtly, in the way your life starts responding to your decisions. Your investments begin growing faster than you can contribute. Your savings stop disappearing with every inconvenience. Your income opportunities expand because you finally have the confidence and the breathing room to pursue them. Momentum is strange because it makes you look smarter, luckier, more strategic. But really, you're just benefiting from the work you already did. The heavy lifting is behind you. The snowball you pushed uphill is finally rolling on its own. And here's what most people don't understand. Momentum doesn't feel like a reward. It feels like alignment. It's the moment your psychology, your habits, and your math stop fighting each other and start reinforcing each other. A single good decision amplifies the next. A small win fuels a bigger one. Your past self finally becomes your greatest asset instead of your greatest obstacle. This is why explosive growth feels so sudden from the outside and so natural from the inside. It's the point where the hidden pattern fully activates and the trajectory of your financial life begins to change at a speed you never experienced before. If momentum is so powerful, then why do so few people ever reach it? Why do most stay stuck in slow, predictable progress even though they work hard, care about their future, and try to do the right things? Because there's a trap hidden inside the pattern, a trap almost nobody recognizes while they're in it. It's the trap of emotional reset. Here's how it works. Every time someone starts making progress, they hit a moment where life gets uncomfortable. Maybe the savings account grows to a number they've never seen before. Maybe investments start rising. Maybe they finally feel ahead. And suddenly, that feeling scares them more than being behind ever did. So unconsciously, they reset. They spend a little more. They loosen their discipline. They downgrade their goals. Not because they're irresponsible, but because their mind is calibrated to the rhythm of struggle. Progress feels foreign. Safety feels familiar, even if safety means stress. This is why so many people self-sabotage right when things begin to accelerate. They don't realize they're still fighting the old pattern, the identity that says, "I'm someone who catches up," not "I'm someone who pulls ahead." And here's the frightening part. You can follow every budgeting rule, every investing strategy, every financial tip in the world, but if your internal identity is anchored to recovery, your decisions will always bend back towards slow progress. The hidden trap isn't money. It's who you think you are with money. Until that changes, acceleration can't begin because your mind will keep pulling you back to the level you're emotionally comfortable with. If the hidden pattern can trap you, it can also liberate you. And the shift doesn't require luck, a massive income, or some perfect plan. It starts with something far quieter. building the identity of someone who accelerates. Here's what that looks like in real life. First, you create small wins that your brain can trust. Not goals like be better with money, but actions grounded in evidence. A weekly transfer you never skip, an investment you contribute to no matter what, a spending decision made for your future instead of your mood. These tiny commitments signal to your mind, I don't live in recovery anymore. Then comes the second step. You treat stability not as an endpoint, but as a launch pad. Most people hit a little breathing room and immediately relax back into old habits. But people who accelerate ask a sharper question. What can this stability unlock for me? Maybe it's negotiating your salary, starting a small project on the side, or choosing a cheaper car and investing the difference. The actions don't need to be dramatic. They just need to reinforce the narrative that you're building upward, not sideways. The third step is emotional conditioning. When progress feels uncomfortable, you stay with it. When your account balance grows to a number that scares you, you don't reset. You breathe and let your identity expand to match it. Because explosive growth isn't just math, it's tolerance. A tolerance for abundance, for responsibility, for opportunity. Finally, you design your life so your default choices support acceleration. Automate the right behaviors. Reduce the friction around your best habits. Make momentum effortless, because once momentum becomes the path of least resistance, growth stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like gravity. This is how the pattern flips, not through sudden fortune, but through intentional identity. When you look back at your financial life one day, you might realize something surprising. The turning point wasn't the moment you earned more, or invested more, or learned some advanced strategy. It was the moment you stopped living in recovery and started living in acceleration. Because all along, the real battle wasn't with the numbers. It was with the story you believed about yourself. Some people spend their entire lives thinking they're the type who has to catch up, always one step behind, always fixing, always trying to stay afloat. And when you believe that, every decision bends toward that identity. Even your wins get pulled back toward the ground. But then, there are those who rewrite the story. Not because they're special, not because they had some advantage, but because they finally saw the pattern and refused to follow the slow path any longer. They built just enough stability to breathe. They allowed their mind to shift out of defense. They let small decisions compound into momentum. And once momentum arrived, everything changed faster than they ever imagined. Explosive growth isn't dramatic from the inside. It feels like alignment, like your life finally cooperating with your effort instead of resisting it. And the truth is, this pattern is already shaping your future right now, whether you notice it or not. The only question left is whether you will stay in the rhythm of slow progress or step into the identity that makes acceleration inevitable. Your financial path doesn't change when the world changes. It changes when you do. If this video helped you see your financial pattern a little more clearly, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the stories and insights that can unlock your next level of growth. Now tell me in the comments, which part of your pattern do you think has been holding you back? And which part are you ready to shift starting today?